Hello and welcome. My name is Anthony England, and this is Forward Games, and this is the Developer Update, Episode 2. Last week, I introduced our latest game, Tiny Space Academy. This week, I'd like to show you our current progress that we've made. This week, I worked on some of the core mechanics, as well as added some new modules. So I started with the rocket exhaust. I knew that I wanted to have the rockets have exhaust while they're in the atmosphere. As the rocket climbs, the exhaust lightens up and slowly disappears. I ended up using a particle effect with just a simple circle. The idea was to make it still a vector art, but not too busy. The exhaust is scalable. So right now the particle is created every time an engine fires, so when you have multiple engines, you'll have a larger exhaust. I then moved on to Tooltips. I wanted to show the information on the assembly. This is the widget I made. It follows the design theme of the game. I added the name, stats, and description. Now when you hover over a module in the assembly, you can now get its information. I think this is a pretty clean design. There is room for some improvement. There is going to be more stats I haven't added yet, but I am fairly happy with how this looks. So I knew from the beginning I wanted to make electricity as a resource. Capsules and certain modules all require electricity now. You can generate electricity through solar panels and generators. In this example, one small solar panel is not enough power to supply the medium-sized capsule. I will have to add 2 solar panels for the electricity to be net positive. If a module or capsule runs out of power, it will no longer be able to use its reaction control system. That means it will no longer be able to rotate. I moved on to adding more modules. The basic modules I had in this game so far were just for testing the mechanics. I started with capsules. So originally I had a small capsule and a small drone control unit. I added a medium capsule, a lander module, and a medium-sized drone control. Each of these capsules and drone controls have their own unique stats. For instance, the lander is lighter weight, but the idea is that you use the lander module to land on the moon or other planets. I then moved on to fuel tanks. I knew that having only a few fuel tanks would be very limiting, so I added a bunch more sizes and multiple tiers. There are now 4 different sizes of fuel tanks: small, medium, large, and XL. I also added adapters so that you can transition between the different size fuel tanks. I knew I would need to add more engine modules. After I got the mechanics figured out, I then moved on to adding the remaining engines I wanted. I started with a small vacuum engine for landing on the moon, then the RS-25 engine, which is on the space shuttle and the SLS, then the F1 engine, which was the main engine for the Saturn V rocket, the J2 engine, which was the vacuum engine on the Saturn V rocket, and the SRB. For the SRB, I had to add a new mechanic. The SRB will run non-stop at full throttle until it is out of fuel. The upside of this is that it has the best weight to power ratio and the best fuel consumption ratio. So it's a very efficient engine, but you have very little control on how it fires. And last, I added the RCS Thrusters. These are small thrusters that have very little thrust, but allows the capsule to make fine maneuvers while in space. The RCS Thrusters does consume fuel. I didn't want to use monopropellant because I only want to have one fuel source in game, so the RCS Thrusters will use the standard fuel that all the engines use. That wraps it up for the new engine modules at this time. I then moved on to fairings. I made 3 different sizes: small, medium, and large. You can customize the fairing to fit the shape that you want and adjust the fairing between all the sizes. After the fairing is created, it will show up as a stage on the right hand side. You can also use the fairing to cover up modules that you don't want to be seen at this time. Here in this example, I have a Saturn V rocket that I want to cover the limb. I can click and drag the fairing and then right click to stop it. In this example, I have a rocket that I designed where the fairing can cover the entire upper stage. Here I launch the rocket. I decouple the RSB boosters once they are out of fuel. And then I release the fairing. One of the last major modules I added was landing legs. I knew that obviously if you're going to land a rocket on any hard surface, you'll need legs to support it and have an even stable landing. Here's an example of the lunar lander that I added the legs to. This pretty much sums up all the modules I added at this time. I did add a few extras like escape towers and batteries, and I'll maybe showcase those another time. This concludes our current updates for Tiny Space Academy. I appreciate you for watching. Please subscribe and give me the thumbs up. I do appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.